Boredar or Pronoundar, every pony. This is BronyDan. It's not original, but hey, you try coming up with reality these days. I'm not sure if I made it clear to some, but I am somewhat of a fan of Ringo Starr. Whether you want to think of him as a Beatle, a solo artist, or the greatest thing to happen to Thomas the Tank Engine, Ringo has certainly done enough in the 50-odd years of his career for us to be proud of him. But the one avenue I think a lot of people tend to overlook is his movie career. After being praised for his performances in A Hard Day's Night and Help, Ringo actually did consider taking up acting as a secondary career. It's just a shame that his choice in movies, well, kinda sucked. Whether it was grunting his way through Caveman or playing a Mexican who rapes who were all in Candy. Viva Zapata! Yeah, that happened. But the one film that a lot of people like to stretch as actually being good is The Magic Christian. It's not religious.
If you want it, here it is. Come and get it.
Based on the comic novel of the same name, The Magic Christian came about after Ringo had completed filming for Let It Be and becoming friends with Peter Sellers during his temporary leave on the White Album. This weird Goons, Beatles and Python black comedy hybrid is really a heavy-handed satire on capitalism and the greed of human society, so don't expect subtlety. But was this really the best film that Ringo starred in outside of the Beatles? Well, let's take a look at The Magic Christian. So after opening with a Paul McCartney song, we see our main character, the billionaire Sir Guy Grant, played by Peter Sellers, starting off his day doing what I'm sure many girls could only dream of doing, adopting Ringo Starr, who plays Youngman, who may or may not be homeless, but really I think this is how Ringo always ends up after a night out.
Well then, Youngman Grand. Father.
You may now kiss the offspring. So now to celebrate this occasion with a visit to the theatre. Although I don't think many school trips will go to see this version of Hamlet.
It is fair, fair. Watkin.
I resign.
Bill, it's brilliant.
It's absolute crap.
Just what is our work, Dad? It's not so easy to define as one might think, lad. Not so easy.
Well, I'll tell you what your work seems to be about. Pissing all over the establishment. That is more or less what the whole point of the movie is. It's just a series of sketches and scenes of Sellers and Starr using their wealth to basically pull elaborate pranks on various people. There is no linking plot between the scenes. It all seems to jump around from one scenario to the other as Sellers demonstrates to Ringo on one detail of human society. The fact that everybody is willing to shake away their dignity and what they hold dear, all for the sake of money.
Well, you know, Youngman, sometimes it's not enough merely to teach. One has to punish as well. A little bit of the old pause. Pause for pause.
The pranks themselves all start off with these smaller things like buying a newspaper company only to fire the boardroom executives and convincing a traffic warden to eat a parking ticket, all for the means of exploiting the vanity of people when money is involved. And the great thing about all of this is that it doesn't just fix on one group of people, it attacks everybody. From the upper class to even the simple folk, Guy and Youngman are able to tear away the fabrics of Western society, all for the means of a laugh.
I don't really think word's corrupt. But they keep prosecuting these people for selling pornographic books. Why don't we write a dirty, filthy pornographic book and then print it, but leaving blanks where the dirty words were? And then people could write what they wanted themselves. Be much more exciting.
Yes, and much more creative. But why leave it at pornography? What about the Bible?
The Bible?
Yes, the Bible.
Well, that's kind of what religion is anyway. People just seem to take up their copy of the Bible and just warp it to their own interpretation. Sometimes the pranks themselves are just so out there, like when Guy and Youngman go out on a pheasant shooting. What do they use?
Blast! Missed. Over to you, Red Leader 1. Yes, good shooting, Red Leader 1. A direct hit. Good God. Nothing like a good, clean kill. Eh, Henry?
These are the kind of things that Monty Python will become known for. And speaking of which...
This is, Rembrandt, is it not?
Well, it may be. It's not been authenticated.
But it isn't just John who makes a cameo.
You should realize, sir, that Oxford men cannot be bought.
Yes, listen to Graham Chapman. Oxford men cannot be bought. But apparently Cambridge people can, since, you know, you went to Cambridge, Graham. In fact, there are loads of cameos from a lot of big names in British comedy, not the very least of which Sellers' goon partner Spike Milligan. And who was Guy's main victim at the Oxbridge race?
Yes, what do you make of it, John?
Well, it would never have happened in my day.
No, or mine. Well, it's happening in mine.
That's for all those slanderous accusations you made against me being the Phantom in the Pink Panther. Now at this point you're all probably wondering, where the hell does this magic Christian thing come in? Well, it turns out to be a luxury cruise that Guy and Youngman have bought tickets for as they plan to pull off their most extraordinary prank yet. As we see the high society board, by the way, high obvious John Lennon and Yoko impersonators, everything on board naturally goes pear-shaped. Okay, I think we don't want to know what Greg and Rose did when they were alone together. So what forms of madness await us on this cruise? Well, we have Roman Polanski being hit on by a transvestite, the captain being attacked by a gorilla, and Christopher Lee playing a vampire. You know, of all the times that Christopher Lee had said that he hated playing Dracula and other forms of vampires because of the Hammer series, it does beg the question, why did he continue to take those roles in the first place? So Youngman decides to help lead the group out of the ship coming across.
During my reign as priestess of the whip, I have never seen such unmitigated slope.
What do I need to say about this? We have Raquel Welch with a whip and 100 topless slave girls. I think we can all die happy knowing that this scenario exists.
Out! Out!
Ah! Oh, I say! Do that again.
That's splendid.
Absolute subtlety!
Well, look! Look, it's Tower Bridge! It's bloody Tower Bridge!
Christ, we haven't been anywhere. We spent the last 48 hours in a goddamn warehouse.
Wait, so in the 48 hours you thought you were at sea, nobody thought to go out on deck at all? Or did they think that the sun outside of Britain would melt their blue-blooded skin? And so the film ends with a slightly less than grand, but certainly more poignant prank involving blood, piss and shit as Guy and Youngman return to the park from the beginning.
Here, what's going on? Oi, come on, here, you can't do that, you can't. It's against park regulations. Sod the regulations. You can keep here any night you like. Good night, gents.
If you want it, here it is. Come
Oh, that was the Magic Christian, or as I like to call it, the 1960s time capsule. This movie showcases all the things that were big in the 60s. The political satire, the trippy colour schemes, all being controlled by two members of the biggest influences of their respected genres. I know I didn't talk much of Peter Sellers and Ringo since, while they are the lead characters, they're the least interesting part of the movie. but the chemistry between the two does shine through. So for being the best movie that Ringo Starr was in outside of the Beatles, I have to agree. It's harmless, but at the same time, it's not harmless. But what do I think was the worst movie Ringo was in? Well, I'll just say this. Remember who wrote the opening song for this movie? That'll give you a bit of a hint. Well, it's just BronyDan saying, no star.